Hi, welcome to the Andrew Buckle video tutorial on Affinity Photo and the Shear Filter. You can see it here doing what it does. Shear Filter just shears the image in all kinds of ways. So I'm just going to cancel that now. So what you need is a layer selected. You can use multiple layers. So you can work with, do shears on different layers to create different designs, which I'm going to go through various things. So first thing to do, find where it is. So with it selected, that layer, go to Filters, Distort, and go down to Shear. Now it's a destructive effect, so you can undo it, you can fade it, all that sort of thing. Sadly, there's no layer option for this. Quite a lot of filters do have that, but for some weird reason, Shear does not. I'm not certain why, but that's what they've done. So there's the shear, and it brings up this panel. You can't resize the panel or anything, nor can you change the zoom in or anything. You can't do you can do fairly subtle changes, but unfortunately there is no zoom feature. It would be really nice if you could. Also, some presets would be quite nice as well. But let's go through it. Key panels for this: layers and channels. You can see those in View, Studio, and you can see the panels there. Then what you can do, just go to this one. Now there's no symmetry feature either, so if you click there and you can add, I'm just going to show you first the standard shear, so you can just shear that backwards and forwards. I mean, that's what most people think of as the shear or skew. You can do that. And you can do it obviously with the other one as well. And the other one, just to show you, goes that way. So you can do that. And you don't obviously with that one as well. They're not stuck, they're not pinned. There doesn't seem to be a pin feature where you can sort of pin it so you can't move it by accident. So, which is a pity. Like deform, so you can remove them as well, but it would be nice to have like a pins that you can stop things, maybe on the area as well. But anyway, that's by the by. So no symmetry, no thing, but it's still quite useful for creating all kinds of shearing effects, and you can create very subtle shears. So if you've got a slightly distorted image and you want to shear it slightly, you can just very subtly move it like that, move it backwards and forwards. But of course, what happens is you always end up with this down here as well, which is slightly maybe not what you want. But what you can also do, you can always move it as well. So if once you've added your point, or whatever you want to call it, pin, something, node, you can then just move it along, move it backwards and forwards, and then just distort like that. You can still see the general, see that still moves in much the same way. So it doesn't really make any difference where you've actually got it, it still bends like that. But what you can do, you can always add additional points. That's what I was saying about symmetry. It'd be nice if with symmetry it would add another one there, so it would go either that way or that way. So you could do it sort of combined. Maybe that's a feature they could add maybe in a future version. But again, you can do sort of, and you can crunch it against the bottom there, and you can see you get this flat line. Unfortunately, there's no straight line feature either, which would be very nice if you could just force it to be all straight line, because as soon as you add these points, it becomes curved, which maybe you want, maybe not. You might want it to be sort of straight line distortion like that. So you can see you can go up and down, and you can go up there as well, and you can distort both sides. So you can really create some very unusual distortions. And I don't know how many points you can add. You can also remove, simply go to the delete button with that one, say that one there, just delete it, and it will, so you can remove it. You can also move it into or close to an existing one, but sometimes if you go too far, you end up getting some very weird breaks in the image, and it starts to go completely haywire if you put one on top of the other. So, which maybe is fine. I mean, that's what you want, but it does sort of have a tendency to go a bit. Ooh. So it's probably best to keep them separated. So you can see you can create some interesting distortions there of this image, and this one's image 25, which you can get on the Graphicxtras.com website. So you can then, once you've applied it, you can simply apply, and then you've got this effect. But of course, you've got transparent background, which maybe you want as well. And then of course what you can do with layers, you've got all the option for adding maybe effects. So you could just go there and click effects, and then you can add maybe a shadow or 3D, bevel and emboss. You can see, let's go bevel, don't want Gaussian blur, I want that one. I always think when you start working on it, it would be nice if it actually didn't suddenly work on that one. just the way it does it. But you can see you can add this nice bevel effect if that's what you want. I don't want that, so I'm just going to remove that. So what you can do, you can always repeat the shear. So filters, repeat. And of course you can always go, if you want to, filters, distort, and again, go to one of the other filters as well, of course. But you can always use shear again. Now obviously it defaults back to the start position. In this one, probably quite useful, it distort goes back to the default. But you can then just obviously deform it or shear it again like that. And of course you can combine with the deform or mirror and those sort of things and use maybe a macro. So you can go to your view and studio and go to the various panels for macro and just store this. So this step, maybe deform, maybe another shear, those sorts of things. Again, click apply. So you can see you can do it a couple of times. Also what you can do, if you want, you can also go to layer menu and you can fade the shear. So fade shear. And you can see what happens. You end up with this sort of weird ghostly effect, and you can move that, go backwards and forwards, and you can put it halfway between, or you can just go to that side, and then also you've got blending modes as well. So you can create some interesting combinations of this shearing effect and apply there. Now what you can also do, and I'm just going to get back to the first one, you can of course duplicate this. Now, I'm not going to do what I usually do, which is always try and do my Alt or Option key. But it's always best just to go to layer menu and just duplicate. Once you've got another layer, it does allow you to use the Alt or Option key to duplicate. For some weird reason, it doesn't allow with the first one, the quirk in the thing. So you've got this image here. It's obviously just a layer over here. You can see two layers. Again, you can go to filters and distort and shear. And you can always put it down there again. Unfortunately, because there's no presets, I would love some presets in this. I think all filters should have presets. It should store the image. I mean, what it would store would be this. It doesn't store the image, obviously, but it would store this nice little curve here. And, you know, be stored away, and you could then quickly just click on it at any point and just create your own standard distortions, which you can apply, obviously, to any image. Of course, you can do that in macro, just store it away in a macro. But presets are always great, I think, personally. So again, you can see you can distort it, and of course you can then, once you've got your image there, and you saw now it's cut off because it's gone over the edge. It's always a minor issue, but obviously it doesn't remember what's outside. And you can hold down the Alt or Option key. Now you can do that, and you can create multiple copies of this design and do that, and then resize it if you want, and rotate that design. And of course, if you want, you can then apply the distortion again. So you can always go to repeat shear and you can really distort the image and virtually end up with hardly anything of the image at all, which maybe is not what you want. Now, what you can also do, and I'm just going to do something I don't normally do, because I was thinking about it when I was there. I've just got this. I'm just going to go and I'm just going to go to a layer. And now there's a lovely feature here, new pattern layer from selection. And what you can do, you can create a selection. You can see your selection there. Well, what you can do, you can use the shear with this as well. So you can always go to filters and you can go down to distort, obviously shear. And you can see nothing happens at this point. But as soon as you can actually shear the whole, so the pattern is sheared. Now, unfortunately, you can't access it while you're doing this. That would be really useful, but you can't. And also add points there, and you can distort. But you can see and it still, of course, doesn't extend beyond the edges or anything. So it's, but click apply. You can still see you've got your design there now. So you can create some quite interesting pattern designs. Rotate that. And also what you can do, of course, you can always go to layer and duplicate. Now, because you've got transparency, of course, what you can do, you can then move that and then you can resize that and you can add multiple copies on top and different patterns. Maybe resize it and so on and so on. So you can see you can create some quite interesting abstract patterns on top, which of course, what you can do, you can then, of course, merge visible, merge them all into a single pixel design, which of course, what you can then do, of course, is go to, and you could do this with any pattern, of course, you can always go to then filters, distort, and shear again. So then you can go here and you can see you can shear that design. And of course, if you wanted to, you could turn that into a pattern and shear that, and so on. So you can see you can create some very abstract designs. And again, once you've done that, you of course can hold down the Alt or Option key and duplicate that design. And you can see you can create very quickly fairly abstract, weird design with your text, with obviously that image that I just had there, which is from an old 18th century book that I've got. So now let's just go back. Let's go back all the way through. Don't want that. Get rid of the pattern. Get rid of the layer. So we're back to just the standard image there. What you can also do, you can use selections. Now, of course, you can create all kinds of different selections. I'm just going to go for a very basic one. So I'm just going to go for the elliptical marquee tool. You can use obviously a select here. There's a number of other tools, freehand, etc. So you can create more. And there's also a number of settings like feather and all those sort of things, which you might like to explore. So just create a selection there. So what you can then do is go to Filters, Distort, and Shear. And then, so if you say like got a particular part of the image you just want to move, you don't want to move all of it, what you can do, you can just shear a bit of it. Now, unfortunately, it's not interactive. It'd be lovely. That's another feature I think would be nice. Quite a lot of the filters are interactive, so you can actually just go over it and it would know because you're working on. If it could force a selection on that, it would know you're working with that one. It could just move that. Anyway, that's would be another nice feature. I think this filter could be extended a lot more than what it is. It's a great filter, I think, but still has a lot of potential for lots of possible additions that would make it a really useful filter. And you can see what happens. You can get that, and of course apply. And then of course what you can do, you can always go to some other part of the area, and you can always go to filters, and of course do exactly the same thing. Shear there and do distortion there. So you can get different distortions of that image there, if you want to do that. Maybe not what you're thinking, but it's possible. There is some uses for it, I'm certain. Now, what you can also do is channels. Now, this is quite good. So what you can do with channels, so you've got channel. So select the red. I always go for red first. Could go for green, could go for blue. No reason why not. So filters, then distort and shear. And I'm just going to do this quickly, so I'm not going to do a, what's the name? Let's do that. And then apply. So you've got that design. Then click on the green. You notice the green channel is totally untouched. So filters and distort and shear. Then you can go to there. Now, of course, because I'm just randomly creating a shear design, it's not going to be anything remotely like the last one. Apply. And I could go with the blue channel as well, but I'm not. I'm just going to go with those. So you can see what happens. You've got that image there. And of course, what you can do, you can then go to filters and distort and shear. And you can just shear that one as well if you want to do that. So you can shear the whole thing to create very weird and wonderful colour design very quick. And of course, you can always hold down the Alt or Option key or go to, if you can, if it's this first layer, it always seems to sometimes refuse it. I don't know why. But so layer and duplicate is another way around that. You can create a duplicate, of course, and you can then combine that and go to filters, maybe repeat shear. You can always rotate. That's another great thing you can do. What I quite like to do is just select a layer, do a shear. And if you do the repeat shear, obviously it will just apply the same shear. But if you want to, you can just go and rotate something. Just go this one, like this one I've just done. You can really distort it in very, and of course it does cut off the edge. One of the problems, but there's nothing to do about that, unfortunately. You can distort it around like that, and then you can always go to repeat shear again, and then you can get a really unusual, and of course it'll take a bit of time to process the design. So you can really distort it in all kinds of different ways. So now I'm just going to go back. Don't want that, don't want that, don't want that, don't want that, don't want that. So back to straight away to that layer. So it's all back to there. Well, you can also do other things as well. I'm just going to finish off now. I'm just going to quickly go over to something like a shape. Just use one of them. Doesn't have to be anything. So I'm going to go with the star. So star design there. And then, of course, what you can do, you can shear that as well. So filters, go down to distort, shear, You can see then what you can do, you just distort it and you can drag it across. If you want to reposition it, as well as sort of distort it maybe like that, or distort the... Now unfortunately what it does, it turns it into a pixel layer. So if you go to layers, you see it's a pixel layer. It's no longer a vector. It's not distorting the vector design. You can create all kinds of weird sort of shapes where it cuts off. Actually, that's another thing just thinking about. I'm surprised there's not a wraparound feature. You know, sort of like, it would be nice if it wrapped it around so you could see it appear over there. When it gets dragged off, it would be nice if it wrapped around so you could see it coming out there. I wonder why they didn't do that. Anyway, that would have been even more useful. So you can see your design there. You obviously get a smaller layer there. And you can do that with any shape, of course. Also, what you can do, and I'm just going to go and add down here, artistic or frame. You can use artistic or text or frame. I'm just going to go with artistic, but you can use it with frame, of course. So it's very small, but let's go for, and just A, just something A. I always just go for default A, but you of course can use any number of characters there, any number of words, and you can apply other effects, of course. What you can also do is, of course, go to filters and distort and go down to shear again. So you may want to add a little bit of a touch to the A, or whatever letter it is, and then you can just sort of just move it subtly, or extreme, but you don't have to do extreme, or move it upwards, those sort of things. So you can create just a very subtle change to your character there. So I'm certain there's many other things that I've completely forgotten about or not done in this, but I think that's a run through of some of the possible functionality you can do with the shear filter in Affinity Photo. Well, I hope you found this tutorial of interest. We're adding new tutorials about obviously Affinity Photo, Illustrator, and many, many others. Also, if you've got any comments, it's always great. Just anything I've done wrong, anything I've done right, anything you think, oh, you know what, why didn't you do this? Or why didn't you go maybe change something else? Always nice to hear in the comments. Also, a dislike or like. Also, please subscribe to the Graphicxtras channel. So I always add near enough every day, ish, sometimes a couple a day even. Also, thank you much.